We have two dogs, big ones. One's a black lab husky mix, and the other one's a full-blooded Staffordshire Terrier. Their kennels sit at the far edge of the yard, right next to the woods. And these aren't just any woods. They're massive, deep, dense, and the kind you could hike through all day and never hit the same trail twice. Lately, as night falls, the dogs have been acting strange, restless, on edge. They bark and whine towards the house like they're desperate to come in. At first, I thought they just didn't like being left outside after dark. But now, I think they're afraid. 3 nights ago, I went out to get them a little later than usual. It was dark, but our security light lit up the yard enough to see. As I approached the kennels, I noticed something instantly. Silence. They weren't barking like they usually do when they see me. Not a sound. Just watching. It unsettled me, but not enough to panic. Still, there was something in the air. A thick tension, almost like static. It felt electric, like the world was holding its breath. I opened the lab's kennel door. The second I unlatched the door, there was a loud snap from the woods. A branch. A big one. My dog froze, and so did I, her tail tucked all the way under her. And she started to whine softly. Behind me, the pit bull had pushed herself to the far back corner of the kennel, letting out these high-pitched whimpers I'd never heard from her before. I can only take one at a time, otherwise they might get overexcited and might fight. So, with my heart racing, I took the lab back first. She practically dragged me to the house. As I turned back to go get the pit, dread wrapped around my chest. Her kennel was closest to the woods. To open it, I'd have to turn my back on whatever might be watching. I forced myself forward. The air was heavier now, still. And that smell. Gosh, it was awful, like a dead skunk, maybe worse. Another snap. Closer this time. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't leave her. I reached the kennel door. That's when I heard it. Breathing, right behind me. It was deep, heavy, ragged. Frozen, I couldn't move. My pit bull started growling behind me. Then the footsteps came, slow, deliberate, crunching across the forest floor. That was it. We bolted. She yanked me full speed towards the house, and just as we ran, something let out a scream. Inhuman, bone-chilling, from the base of the woods. I didn't dare look back. That night, I turned off every light in the house, and stared out the window. I could see something just beyond the reach of her security light, pacing back and forth. Then, it was gone. The next night, I went out earlier, just at dusk. I thought maybe I imagined the worst of it. But as I opened the pit's kennel, another loud crack echoed from the woods. The tree branch snapped in half. I grabbed her and turned to head back. Then I heard it again. Something charging from inside the woods. We ran. Whatever it was, followed just long enough to let us know it was there, then backed off. Since then, I stopped using the kennels altogether. Now I walk the dogs during the day, and we're always inside before the sun sets. But every night, I still hear it. Branches breaking, something knocking on trees, rocks being thrown, deep roars echoing from the forest. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it wants. All I know is I'm scared, and I'm thinking about buying a gun, but I'm not even sure that would help. Whatever's out there, it's not afraid of me, and knows where I live. This happened during my first year in the force. I was just 19 at the time, stationed in a small, swampy community called Waswanipi. It was summer, a hot, sticky night. We got a call from a bar about 30 minutes away, out on the edge of a rough spot of the town. Out of respect for the people who lived there, I won't name the place. My partner and I were dispatched. I was driving, headlights on high beam, slicing through the darkness. About 15 or 20 minutes of the drive, we saw something, lying in the middle of the road. At first, I thought it was a moose. Moose sometimes lay on the asphalt to escape the heat and bugs. I slammed on the brakes, hard. Tires screeched, and whatever was in the road suddenly stood up. It was massive. I mean, towering over the car. And we don't drive sedans. We're usually in Tahoes or Suburbans. These are big SUVs. But this thing, it dwarfed them. When I saw its eyes, bright red, reflecting in our high beams, staring down at us. I've never felt fear like that in my life. It let out a roar. Not a growl, not a yell, a roar. Deep and unnatural. And then it ran. Way too fast to be anything I've ever seen. My partner froze. He was paralyzed with fear, just staring. Had to call the radio and call for backup myself, trying to explain what we saw without sounding completely insane. 15 minutes later, backup arrived. We followed the direction the thing had run. Slowly, cautiously, weapons drawn. But I'll be honest with you, we all felt the same thing. Completely exposed. We were armed, sure. Glocks. Maybe a shotgun between us. But what was it? Against that? Useless. Whatever it was far bigger than a bear. Or even a moose. A few meters in the woods, we started hearing it. Trees crashing, being knocked over like matchsticks. That was enough for us. We backed off and started walking back towards the vehicles. And that's when I heard it. Knocking on the trees, repetitive, loud, deep. Something was still watching us. As we got into our vehicles, I remember thinking, if we had kept following that trail, if we'd actually caught up to it, would any of us have ever made it back? A few days later, reports came in, people claiming they saw some creature all the way from Waswanipi to Centauri. I'm telling you now, I believe we saw Bigfoot that night. Here's a quick side note, something that's haunted me ever since. When I was younger, I stayed with my grandparents. One of my grandfather's friends came by. Late one evening, he told me a story. He said that before colonial times, Bigfoot was common. They'd raid native camps, steal children, but eventually, all the native tribes came together for war, and they fought back. They won. When the colonizers came, the tribes kept the history secret. That's why we only see Bigfoots occasionally now, why the sightings are rare. I don't know if he was telling the truth, maybe it was just a story to scare a kid, but after what I saw that night, it doesn't just feel like a story anymore. I was 27 years old, working deep in the woods in Northern California, at a Boy Scout camp in far north of Lee County. The area was crawling with black bears, usually harmless. If one got too close, a warning shot from rifles was enough to send it running. But with 500 campers every week scattered across distant campsites, it was only a matter of time before some kid fell asleep with candy in his pocket. To a black bear, that's basically a prepackaged midnight snack. Let me tell you this, black bears love Reese's peanut butter cups. As part of the staff, I was often assigned to bear watch. That meant walking the trails at night with the rifle slung across my shoulder, checking each site, making sure my presence was known to keep the bears away. One night, things felt off. Still, quiet, too quiet. I just finished checking on the most remote camp, about half a mile from the main base, when I found myself walking along a lakeside trail. It was around 2 in the morning. Stopped to relieve myself and lit a joint. I'd hidden away for nights like this, out under the stars, alone. But something didn't feel right. There's a gut instinct that all of us are born with. You don't ignore it. Not if you want to survive in the wild. And that night, every fiber of my being was telling me I wasn't alone. Now, I've had close calls before. A bear once stood up just feet from me. A mountain lion stalked me for half an hour before I realized it. I've even camped too close to a coyote den. But this wasn't that. This was different. The air was heavy, and the smell, I'll never forget it. Musky, sour, thick. Unlike anything I've ever smelled before. No bear, no cat, no dog. Just foul. I reached down for my flashlight and was about to draw my rifle when something slammed into the ground behind me. Impact shook the earth. Whatever it was had dropped from above, hard enough to almost knock me off my feet. I fumbled, grabbed my flashlight from the ground, and in the split second I raised it, I heard something massive crashing through the bush, running uphill into the trees. At first, I thought maybe it was a huge bear, but then I heard footfalls. Not 4 paws, 2 feet. It was running upright. I stood frozen, breath caught in my throat. I've never heard a bear move like that. It didn't bound or gallop, it strode. It ran like a man. Hands shaking, I readied my rifle, took the safety off, and fired in the air, towards the lake. The sound echoed, waking up scouts and leaders all over camp. For 10 long minutes I stood there, alone, watching the woods. Flashlight in one hand, finger on the trigger. Finally, the camp leader and some staff arrived. I showed them the scene. Something had dropped from the trees, at least 20 feet up, and tore a path uphill, ripping limbs and branches in its wake. Some of the trees were bent in half. Limbs were broken 13 feet off the ground. Never seen a black bear do that. No one had. Most of the campers chalked it up to just a bear, trying to comfort themselves, but we all knew better. No bear runs upright for 12 yards uphill. No bear stands 13 feet tall. No bear leaps out of a tree like a demon and disappears like a ghost. Not saying it had to be a Sasquatch, but if it wasn't, what the hell did I see? All I know is I'm glad it was running away from me, because if it was running towards me, whatever it was, I wouldn't be here telling you this story.